Today's contingency is brought to you by Quizmaster Andre. Agamemno Contingency, the very best. How far are you willing to go in order to achieve your dreams? Would you travel to 8 different countries over the course of 25 years? Would you suffer defeat after defeat only to start over from scratch and try again? Never looking back, only ever looking forward on the next step of your journey? Well, then you'd be right up there with Ash Ketchum. From the day he turned 10, Ash has been on a journey as a Pokemon trainer to achieve his dream of becoming a Pokemon master. From Kanto to Alola, Ash would crawl his way to the top of each league, only to suffer defeat in the end. Some defeats worse than others, but with each loss he would grow closer to his goal, until the day he would finally achieve the victory that had eluded him for so long, becoming the Pokemon champion of the Alola League. I won't lie, I'm sure many of us were about as shocked as he was at the time. But he didn't stop there, as now that he was officially a champion, it allowed him to participate in another tournament, dubbed the Champion League. In this tournament, Ash would overcome other champions who had years of Pokemon battle experience, some with Pokemon they'd raised since they themselves were children. Meanwhile, Ash himself had accomplished this with a team he'd started from scratch, a team he trained with for maybe a few months before the tournament started. I want you to think about that for a moment. Somehow, this boy managed to defeat adults with years of experience while he himself hadn't even turned 11 yet. What I mean to say is that with such an incredible instinct for Pokemon training and battle, countering Ash would take someone equally as skilled in combat, along with being crazy enough to employ some of the strategies he's pulled off. Fortunately, I have just the person in mind, and after copying both the Pokédex and Pokéball technology, all that was left was for him to create his own team. Hopefully that's going well. Now, with the contingency for the Pokemon being taken care of, I need to address the other issue. And that is the fact that Ash Ketchum is an absolute monster of a human being. Let's start with durability. The Pokédex entry for Charizard says that its flames are hot enough to melt a glacier weighing 10,000 tons. A flame so hot that it can melt anything. Ash has been hit by this fire on multiple occasions, and while he was covered in a layer of soot, he was completely fine shortly after. Need another? Ash's ace Pokemon. Pikachu knows the move Thunderbolt, an electrical attack that has upwards to 100,000 volts of electricity. It takes about 200 volts to kill a human being, and yet Ash has been struck by this move multiple times without issue. Sure, it has caused him to react in pain, but he has managed to walk away from it without any lasting effects. Ash is also capable of jumping great heights and distances. For example, he'd once managed to vertical jump onto a hot air balloon. Now, while it is true that it was being pulled down at the time, Ash still likely jumped several dozen feet into the sky. He'd also managed to jump across this large ravine, clearing several hundred feet before grabbing into the wall on the other side with little effort. I know I've said it before, but I feel the need to remind you all that he is only 10 years old. But all of these feats pale in comparison to his immense strength. I won't lie, I had questioned whether this boy is actually human after seeing some of these. We'll start light, like the time Ash tossed a log across a river so that a Pokemon could use it as a bridge. Honestly, it's the fact that he managed to sprint while carrying it first that surprised me. Typically, when people lift things of great weight, they show at least some strain while doing so. And yet here he is casually lifting his Pignite, a Pokemon weighing over 100 pounds. Not impressed? How about the time he held a Cosmome in his hands, a Pokemon weighing at over 2,000 pounds? Now, his strength and durability does have its limits. It's somewhere between being hit multiple times by about a dozen Pokemon and standing in the middle of an attack between 2 of the most powerful psychic types on the planet. In both these situations, Ash would unfortunately lose his life, and yet he would be revived shortly after on both occasions. And these 2 examples are not the only times it's happened. I'm no stranger to people coming back from the dead, but Ash seems to casually accomplish this so much that I again question if he's actually human. Now, as stated, Ash has incredible strength, durability, and can regenerate from death near instantly. This all would make him difficult to counter in a full frontal assault. That said, Ash has shown little to no resistance to ailments, such as the time when he had accidentally breathed in stun spores and was left immobilized. Also, while he may rarely get sick, it has put him out of commission before. With this in mind, I believe a form of sleeping gas would be enough to knock him unconscious if need be, after which I can place him in a medically induced coma. I also have another contingency in mind, but as of right now,
Master Bruce, would you care to explain these adoption papers I found in your study?
Well, guess that wraps up this contingency.
Don't you ignore me.
If you also have a character you wish for me to cover, or just want to support this channel, I'll have a link to my Ko-fi page. There will also be a Google Doc with the list of characters who have ever been done or already commissioned by others.